Most tennis players are focusing on the wrong thing to have control over their forehand. They go out to the tennis court and think how they swing and how they do all these things they see Roger Federer and other pros doing that is going to get them tons of control in their forehand. And it's just not true. I don't want that for you. So in this video, I'm going to show you the 4 things, the only 4 things you ever need to concern yourself with to have ultimate control over where your forehand's going. So the very first thing you need to understand if you want to have ultimate control over where your forehand goes is that the racket face is going to send the ball wherever the racket face is looking at contact. That's the only thing that will ever matter about sending the ball in a direction and having control. Let me explain. If the racket face is facing down when you hit the ball, guess where the ball's going to go? It's going to go down. Equally, if the racket face is open and you hit it, it's going to go up. Okay, this sounds so simple, but it's so overlooked. And this is the thing, when I'm changing my racket face angle, I'm not actually changing my grip. I'm just having my grip and adjusting my wrist angle by opening up. Now, this is an extreme exaggeration. When you see me doing this right now, this is huge. This is a huge difference. This is basically hitting the net or going completely over the fence. The adjustments you're gonna wanna be making are super subtle. Now, one more thing. You might be saying, Kevin, what's the right racket face? There is no perfect racket face. Obviously, there's a lot of bad ones, but there is no perfect one because there's so many different type of forehands you might be trying to hit. Where you see the pros have the racket face completely vertical, that's great if they're penetrating the ball. But let's say you need to hit a topspin lob. Well, you don't want that racket face. You might want a racket face a little bit more open. And we're gonna make sure you understand exactly what the racket face you need to have for any shot you wanna hit. So let's go do a quick drill just to make sure you understand exactly what you need to be doing to control the racket face. So the very first drill we want to do is focus on controlling the racket face going up and down. And the way we're going to do this is what I call trimming down. The very first exercise I want you to do is actually closing the racket face and swinging. Now here's the key. Make sure you swing pretty similar to how you would normally swing. Even if you swing up, that's no problem. I'm going to swing slightly up, but I'm going to really just focus on making sure that I'm closing the racket face and I'm exaggerating here. So my racket's below, I'm going to drop the ball, I'm going to swing up, and you can see how the ball went really low. Now, I'm going to open up a little bit more because I at least wanted to go to the bottom of the net. Perfect. Now, from here, you can really feel how it feels to have the racket too close at contact. Now I'm going to exaggerate and open the racket way up. So I'm going to exaggerate going from here to opening it extremely up, and then I'm going to still swing from low to high, making sure that I keep everything pretty much the same, but just with the racket face open and see what happens. What's going to happen is the ball is going to go up. I don't know if you can see it go pretty much almost past the baseline, but I'm not swinging any faster. Everything's the same. And now I want to start what I call trimming down. I want to take that racket face and with each hit, slowly close the racket face and see what happens. What you're going to notice is the ball slowly starts coming down with each adjustment in the racket face. So I'm going to start going down a little bit. You can see doesn't go as high. And if I come even lower, doesn't go as high. And then if I go too low, I'm starting to get really close to the top of the net. One quick warning, if you're swinging and you feel like, man, my racket face is super open, but the ball keeps going like this and it's not that high or it goes in the net, trust where the ball's going. Don't trust your feeling because you've developed the habit through training and probably hitting that you feel this way about a certain racket face angle. And so it's really important to retrain your feeling. So if I'm hitting and the ball's going in the net and I feel like it's open, well, I need to be even more extreme and open up even more. Really quick story. I was playing a match and every ball seemed like it was sailing super long. I could not control the ball at all. And so my response to it was like, hey, I'm just gonna close the racket face because everything's flying. It's just random. This is before I really understood the racket face angle, how important it was. And I closed it. I felt like I was swinging like this, like the racket face was this close, and suddenly everything started going inside the court. What happened was I had a false association to where the ball was going based on my racket face. Originally, I thought I was swinging like this and every ball was sailing long. And then suddenly when I closed it, everything was in. Really what was happening was originally on the first couple balls I was hitting, the racket face was probably open. And this is still an exaggeration. But then by me feeling like I closed it, it probably closed it about that much, hence making all the balls go in. And this is why it's so important to trust where the ball's going, not what you're feeling. Don't fight the feeling, go with the ball's going. The second major concept that you need to understand is that the path of the racket doesn't necessarily dictate where the ball's gonna go, but it mainly dictates the amount of spin on the ball, whether that be topspin or underspin. And so what this means is you can swing up on the ball and that's gonna give you topspin. But if you swing up on the ball with the racket face closed, it just gives you topspin that goes into the net. And that's the problem. So many players are confused about this, that they think if they swing up more, the ball's gonna go higher. And yes, you will see certain pros where the racket face is a little bit closed and they're swinging up and it still goes over. Now here's the thing you have to understand, which we'll talk about in a little bit, which is the speed of your racket when you're swinging. But that's another topic that we'll talk about in a little bit. The main thing to understand is that whatever racket path your racket takes to get to the ball, that's gonna apply the spin to it. Meaning if you come up on the ball, you'll get topspin. If you come down the ball, you'll get underspin. If you come across the ball, you'll get side spin. But notice how the height of the ball never changed because I kept the racket face the same as I applied different paths to the ball. Make sure you're not getting this confused because so many players in their mind go, you need to swing up more to get the ball to go higher. And that has nothing to do with where the ball's gonna go. That just applies more spin if you swing up. So I want you to go do a drill right now, just focusing on understanding the relationship between the racket face angle and the path. Once you understand these two things, you're gonna be light years ahead of all the rest of the players out there, and you're gonna already notice how you're gonna have tons of control just by understanding these first two concepts. Now this drill is gonna help you with the path of the racket, and it might seem a little silly at first, but it's so important for you to understand this. And what I mean by silly is we're gonna do a lot of different paths so you can really get the feeling of this. So what I want you to do is go ahead and make sure your racket face is pretty vertical. We've already tested that out. And what I want you to do first is start off with the racket below the ball. So I'm just gonna drop a ball and I'm gonna pull the racket straight up. So what this means is pulling up, and you should get topspin. If the topspin goes in the net, it's because your racket face is too close. So make sure you adjust it if it goes in the net. But by now you should understand how to get the racket face to go where you want to make the ball go where you want. But all we're focusing on is making sure that you pull up and you get topspin. Now what I want you to do is actually start the racket off higher and we're gonna come down, but keep the same racket face. So now you're gonna get backspin. And if I have the racket face right, it's gonna go the height I want. So you can really understand how you can get topspin or backspin. But the key is understanding that we wanna focus on making sure we understand the path is gonna apply the spin. So since we're talking about forehand control, we wanna think about topspin. Topspin is gonna add control to whatever forehand you hit. Now, one quick warning, topspin also slows the ball down. So while you're swinging up, if you swing massively up on the ball, and even if I swing fast, the ball's gonna have a ton of spin, but probably not a lot of penetration. And so you have to measure what type of ball do you want. And if I swing with a little bit of upward action and still swing through it, I'm gonna have more penetration, but a little bit of control. So just make sure you understand that as you're applying topspin to know what type of ball you wanna hit when you're hitting the shot. The third main concept is all about timing, because we've talked about how to make the ball go up and down and then have topspin or backspin or whatever spin you want. But now we want to also understand how to make the ball go left and right. And that comes down to timing. And what I mean by timing is when we make contact with the ball really dictates where the ball is going to go, because it's going to really shape where the racket face is looking at contact that we've already talked about. So let me explain. If I swing at a normal swing and make contact here, the ball is going to go straight. So if I'm aiming for the green cones and I swing on time, boom, the ball's gonna go straight in front of me. Now, if I start my swing earlier, guess what? The ball's not gonna arrive here at contact, it's gonna arrive earlier or further in front, making the ball go more cross court, okay? And if I wait longer before I start my swing, what's gonna happen is the ball's gonna come in a little bit more and I'm gonna arrive and hit the ball a little bit later, meaning that if I wait a little bit more, it's gonna go more inside out. And this is so important to understand. So many players are thinking, I have to swing faster, but it's the same rate of swing, but the timing of when you initiate or start the swing, it's what truly is different to make the ball go more left, right, or middle. And by understanding this, you have the tools already to have ultimate control over your forehand, because now you can make it go up, down, left, or right. The final concept to having ultimate control over your forehand is how fast you swing. You see, If I swing very soft with an open racket face, the ball's still gonna go in. If I swing faster with an open racket face, that velocity change is gonna actually impart more energy on the ball, sending it longer. And so this is the thing where you have to understand. Each one of these are levers that you pull. Now that you understand this, you can do something I call dialing up. Dialing up is dialing up whatever forehand you want, because you understand the different levers you have to pull to get whatever forehand you want, to have that ultimate control over wherever and however you hit your forehand. So let me give you an example. Let's say I want to hit a topspin lob. Well, let's dial it up. That means I need to open my racket face. I want that with topspin, so my racket path has to come up. My swing from a standpoint of 0 to 10 might be a 5. So if I do that by opening up my racket face, swinging up on the ball, I just dialed up a lob. But let's say I don't want a lob. Let's say I want a cross-court angle because my opponent's coming in the net and I want to dip the ball to their feet. Now what do I need? I need to make sure my racket speed is at least probably I would say a 5, 6, or 7 depending on how much topspin I want on the ball. I want to make sure my racket face isn't open anymore. It's probably vertical, and I want to make sure I'm steeply coming up on the ball. And because I want it cross-court, I need to swing earlier. So what's going to happen now is if I do that, I get more topspin and the ball's going to be more cross-court. You can see how this works together to have ultimate control over any forehand you hit. You now know exactly what to do and you know how to train it. So go out there and start working on how to take your forehand to the next level with more control. And if you want to learn how to hit more power or more effortless power in your forehand, make sure you go ahead and watch this video because I take you through the concept and the drills to make sure you can apply more power to your forehand. And now with understanding how to control it and having massive power, you can have both at the same time.